Hey, APCSP students, it's been a while since I spoke to you, and I have a few things to say because it is getting really close to the time that your Create task is due. The deadline for the Create task is Tuesday, May 26th. That is 2 weeks from today. So you have 2 weeks to complete the task and upload it to the college board. I'm just here to remind you of that. Secondly, you must upload your files to the digitalportfolio.collegeboard.org. Even if you were never signed up for the AP exam, yes, you need to upload your files there because that is the one portal where I will be looking to make sure that everyone has completed the task. It is a requirement for my class, whether or not you are taking the exam. Nobody's really taking an exam, but whether you were trying to go for AP credit by taking the exam, or not, you still need to upload to the digitalportfolio.collegeboard.org. Okay, few reminders. You need to upload 3 files on May 26th. Number 1, you need to make a video of your program running. That video should be in one of the approved file formats. The ones I know of are MP4, .mov, .mwave. There are probably a couple others. It needs to be showing the purpose of your program working. Okay, it doesn't have to show every little detail. So if there's parts of your program that don't work, that's okay. Don't show those in the video. Okay. You also need to, number 2, upload a document that contains your written responses as a PDF. And number 3, there's going to be a space where you can upload a document with your complete code for your entire program. Even if you know it is not completely working, you still give the entire code for your whole program in a PDF. All the code copied and pasted into a PDF. And you need to have annotated it with a rectangle around the abstraction that you're going to talk about and an oval around the algorithm that you're going to talk about. I have provided in the CreateTask resources folder files that explain how to get that rectangle and oval around the code in a simple way. You can do it however you like. If you want to copy things into a Google Doc and add a drawing with a rectangle and you can somehow get it to look like it's around the code, that's fine. My solution is a tool that I use that I think happens to be easy, and so I've given you instructions for that. Okay, specifically focusing on each of these files for just a second. The video file, very important, should not exceed 1 minute. That means if you have more than 59 seconds, there's a chance it will not upload. So try to make sure that you do 59 seconds or less, not 60 seconds, because anything millisecond over 60 is going to cause the file not to upload. Okay. You may include audio narration, but you don't have to. It could be a completely silent video, just showing on the screen what your program is about. You can videotape it using I have a set of instructions for you how to videotape your screen, and that is under CreateTask resources. Or you could literally show it on a screen and videotape it with your phone. Just try to focus on it and make sure that it's easy to see what's happening on the screen. However you create a video file showing your program running is okay. All right. Third, you need to follow, so there are instructions in a file called video capture directions. It'll give you hints and tips and tools in order to use to do that if you don't want to figure it out on your own. Okay. Couple tips for videotaping your program. You should probably plan out what you're going to do, and you should practice before you actually start videotaping. You should show in the video things that work well, okay, and show the main purpose of your program. And once again, do not go over 59 seconds, okay? If you have to go over 59 seconds, that's too much. Just maybe edit it down. If you make a mistake, try to cut something out. You might have to play with some editing software, but that's, part of computer science, so it's all good to learn. Okay. The written responses document. There is a template that I have been giving you, and it's now in the CreateTask resources folder of the classroom. I would recommend you use the template because you need to label all your answers to A, to B, to C, to D. Do not put your name in the document or use your name as part of the file name. You should not be identifiable in your written responses. The people who score your written responses want it to be an anonymous thing. So just the fact that you upload it into the College Board's digital portfolio under your account is enough to identify that these are your written responses. Don't use your own name. Okay. So a couple things about each of the questions. Prompt 2A asks you to do 3 things. Make sure you do all 3 of these things. Identify the programming language that you used. If you're using code.org in the app lab, like I was doing with you in class, then it's JavaScript is your programming language. You should say, I used code.org's app lab in JavaScript to write this program. You should identify the purpose of your program. Oh, by the way, if you used a different programming language, then you write that. Some of you did, believe it or not, use a different programming language. I know some of you will find that hard to believe that some students did not stick with code.org. They went off and did their own thing, but they did. So they would indicate that there, but they just want to know what language you used. Second thing, in 2A, you need to identify the purpose of the program. Like, was it a game to entertain the user? Was it a tool to solve something? Whatever it is, the purpose, put it in there. Then describe what the viewer will see in the video, okay? You should have taken the video by now, and you can just kind of go through the video and describe what the user should see when they watch the video, okay? Question 2B talks about your development process. You need to include 2 distinct points of either challenge or opportunity. Challenges you encountered or opportunities that you encountered where you came upon a thought, oh, maybe it would be better if I did it this way or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to have been a struggle you had, but some kind of an opportunity to make a change, okay? And for each of those 2 distinct points, you need to explain how each was resolved. What did you do to resolve that challenge or to incorporate that opportunity? Also, who worked on that part of the problem? If you are doing this whole project by yourself, then you just keep saying, I did this, I did that, and it's very clear. If you worked on it with a partner, then you would want to indicate whether this was independent development or we together developed something. If you are working with a partner, make sure that you also have at least one of these 2 distinct points is you independently, not both of you. Don't say we throughout. It's got to be I did this, my partner did that, perhaps, but it should not be everything we. That would lose you a point, okay? Mention that you iterated through the stages of the cycle of software development, that you designed something, you wrote the code, you tested it, you debugged it, and you repeated that process. Okay, these 2 distinct points of challenge, you could work the wording in there to say, and then on my next feature that I added, I found that, and talk about the iteration through the process. Okay. Question 2C asks you to first include a screenshot of a code segment that shows an algorithm that you developed. That means that, yes, you have to go to your code and copy paste it into the written response document or screenshot and take that little image and paste that in. And it should include code that shows a main algorithm that you developed. An algorithm is just a set of instructions to accomplish a purpose, some sort of purpose. It should be something you developed, not something you borrowed from the internet, which, by the way, is okay. You are allowed to borrow parts of code from the internet where you find, or from someone else, as long as you give them credit in comments. You say, I took this code from so-and-so or some website, okay? It's okay to do that as long as you give credit. Then you will not be flagged for plagiarism, okay? But the part you focus on for 2C should be something that you developed independently. It should incorporate 2 or more other algorithms. So think main algorithms, sub-algorithms, okay? And it should have some mathematical, logical concepts. So you want the meat of your program, the complexity of it, to be highlighted in this answer. If your entire program is not complex at all, then I suggest you add something to your program that makes it more complex, or else you will not have an answer to this question. Even if you have a simple game where it's just switching screens and clicking on things until you add up a score and get to a certain spot, and then you win. If all it is just event handlers and switching screens, that's not complex enough. But you could, at the very end of your program, add something that is more complex, like a function that puts some sort of, winning celebration on the screen, like fireworks, where you design a function that, animates something to celebrate. And you could put complexity there. You can always add something more complex to your program if you don't have enough to write about in 2C. Okay, that's just my suggestion. Here's an example that we are familiar with from earlier in the year. We did a program design theme where we had a function, let's say, called draw forest. And within that algorithm, there are steps that we took to draw the forest. We would draw the sky first, then the trees, then the woodland creatures. That's just an example. You guys all did your own themes, right? But each of these individual functions was also an algorithm of its own. Like under draw trees, there would have to be a bunch of steps to draw a tree, like, move the turtle from here to there to draw the trunk, and then move the turtle from here to there to draw, branches. That is a sub-algorithm. So drawing woodland creatures, that's another sub-algorithm. So this function, this algorithm that draws the forest has other algorithms incorporated into it. It has 3 showing right here. And why is each one of those an algorithm, even though it looks like a single command? Because that's a function call, and in that function, you would have another set of steps that accomplishes a task. So that's the idea behind algorithms. Okay. Part 2D, the abstraction aspect of this. They say focus on a student-developed abstraction. Basically, in code.org, a student-developed abstraction, the best thing to focus on is a function that you write. Just like this. In fact, your code, your 2 answers could actually be focusing on the same thing. You could say that this is an algorithm, but this is also an abstraction. So it just depends how you describe it. All right. And if you only have one function that counts as both of these things, then that's fine. You can talk about that same function in both answers. Okay. A function is a student-developed abstraction. An on-event function is not a student-developed abstraction. That is a built-in JavaScript abstraction. It doesn't count. Okay. So don't focus on on-event as an answer. Okay. Once again, for part 2D, you have to pick a function that you wrote, copy and paste the code into this written response area, and then start describing how it helped you manage the complexity of your program. Okay, how do functions help us manage the complexity of our program? Because they make the algorithm easy to read. We can tell exactly what the purpose of this is because the name of the function tells us what it's going to do. We don't have to sift through all these detailed little commands, like thinking about where it's drawing this and that to be able to tell what it's doing. It's making it simpler just by making it more readable. That's one way to describe it. Also, it helps manage complexity by allowing us to reuse code without copying it and pasting an entire section, and it makes it more maintainable. Because when you have duplicated code, like bodies of code in different places that are all doing the same thing, and they are repetitive, redundant, then if you want to change something here, then you're going to have to make sure you don't forget to go over there and change the same thing, or else it's not going to work in both places. When you package up a bunch of code into a function, you now have a package that can be used repeatedly to do the same thing over and over again, and it's less complex. It helps you manage the complexity because you can reuse that code. You can know exactly where to go in your code to maintain that one thing or change it if you want. That's managing complexity. Okay, so here's an example of abstraction. Here's a different example. Okay, here's a function called update score. Okay, it's a very simple example, but inside that function, it just decides if the current player is player 1, then I'm going to add a point to the player 1 score, and otherwise I'm going to add a point to the player 2 score. Okay, this helps manage complexity because every time a round is finished, we're going to have to update the score. So we can just call this function and not have to put this if-else statement all over the place in our code. We just call it multiple times right there. Okay. Now, when you are finished with your written responses, don't forget you have to save that written response file as a PDF before you upload it. Okay. Do not use your name in the document or file name again, because you're going to put it in the digital portfolio and that's how we know it's yours. But save as a PDF. Okay. Then there's the code file. Once again, in your Google Classroom, what the heck is going on? In the Google Classroom, I have put a document called Code Capture Instructions. This describes a tool called the Code Print tool that allows you to copy and paste your code. And I recommend that if you're working in code.org, you switch it from blocks to text so that you can easily copy and paste it into this tool. And then the tool will allow you to add a rectangle and add an oval. It's designed specifically for this CreateTask. It's going to help you add a rectangle and add an oval to your code, and then it will help you save it as a PDF. So everything you need is in that tool. If you don't use that tool, you're on your own to copy and paste your code into some other editor and add a rectangle and an oval around the parts that they're supposed to be around, and then save it as a PDF. But this will do it for you. Okay, so the algorithm goes in an oval. Algorithm is a set of instructions, step by step by step. You know, a bunch of steps that accomplish a task. That's an algorithm. You got to put that in an oval. Pick one and put an oval around it, and that's the one that you are going to be talking about in your 2C answer. You also need to put the abstraction in a rectangle. So you know a function that you wrote should be in a rectangle in your code document to highlight, this is the one I'm talking about in my 2D answer. Okay? Once you have your code document saved as a PDF with the rectangle and the oval in it, and you've got your written responses saved as a PDF, and you've got your video saved as an approved file format that is no longer than 59 seconds, you're ready to upload. And so you go to digitalportfolio.collegeboard.org. I personally recommend just typing that into the URL bar. It's the easiest way to find it. And log in and look for CreateTask. You already uploaded your Explore task there. Every single one of my students already has a check mark for both the two files for the Explore task. And that was awesome. We all got it done, whether or not we are, signed up to get AP credit. And I want the same thing to happen for the CreateTask. Everyone to put all 3 files under CreateTask in the College Board's digital portfolio. So digitalportfolio.collegeboard.org, that is where you submit this to them and to me. I want it in the College Board's digital portfolio, so I'm saying that is the only place that I'm going to look for it. Okay? I really hope that the next 2 weeks you have the time and the energy to focus and get this done. If you have any questions, the questions have been coming and I've been trying to respond to them as quickly as I can. I'm here to answer them, general questions, or just direct you back to the project specifications. That's all I've got for today. I hope you're doing well, and good luck. Can't wait to see what you guys get done.